And that kind of brings me, before we get into the interviews, we have to talk about it. We've avoided it thus far. We really haven't gone into TikTok thus far, but we need to talk about it. And I've always been very vocally against it. And in the music industry right now, it is a major, measurement of an artist's worth, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Dave's not a fan. Allie, what are your thoughts on TikTok?
I'm on it every day.
I know you are.
That's just it. That's exactly why I go nowhere near, because I got enough different forms of social media just rotting my brain, causing unproductive hours on end, just me scrolling through Twitter, like looking at the same things over and over and over. And I just can't add something else to the rotation that just warps my brain.
Now, me and Allie have had long conversations on the phone about whether or not Foxtrot should enter the TikTok world.
Yeah.
And she's always said,
I'm for it.
Yes, absolutely.
I think
Which, now I will say, we had a big argument in the studio when we were cutting the new stuff. This was like 3 weeks ago, where we were wrapping up the session. I was 16 hours in. I was exhausted. And the last thing I wanted anybody to do was to tell me to add another thing onto my list of things to do. Legitimately something else that I find to be kind of abhorrent at this point in my life. I just didn't want to do it. So I got in a big argument. I came home. I talked to my wife. Dana, you've met Dana before, Allie. Dana works, part of her job is in influencer marketing. So I sat down on the stairs. It was like 2:00 in the morning. And I said, like, the fucking band wants me to get the band on TikTok. And I've always said I won't do it. And she looked at me and dead in the eye said, if you don't do it, you're stupid. She was like, you're dumb. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you know what I'm about. And she was like, look, it's aged up considerably during quarantine.
Yep.
Like, my whole thing was, I was like, yo, I'm 29. I'm not like an old man, but I'm in my later 20s, and I let the kids have their thing. I don't want to be that. My example I always use is Steve Buscemi on the skateboard, that gif, like, what's up, fellow youths? Like, okay, that's cool. Like, let them have their thing. And Dana was like, dude, the average age now is like 27. She was like, you'd be a fool not to do it. And so as a social experiment and kind of an experiment for the band and for the podcast, I thought, let me get one and just see what the fuck happens. So I did. And it's been 2 weeks now, and my experience went from dreadful to like, I'm okay with this, and I kind of see the merits. And I'll go over this real quick. But when I first joined it, what really freaked me out was when I was it's the most algorithmic of all of the social media.
I've heard
like,
that.
It pushes shit towards you they think you want to see. But like what they were pushing me in the beginning was all these videos that said, hey, you, TikToker with no followers. Here's how you get more followers. Literally, and I'm a grown-ass man who's in check with my emotions. I'm a fucking married man. Like, I'm an adult. And I was like feeling like shit. And I'm like, oh my God, why do I suck at this? And I'm like, if I feel this way, how the fuck do kids who don't know how to process this shit feel? And my first reaction was like, oh my God, this is going to fuck a generation of kids up. And then, good.
No, it absolutely does. Like, people are obsessed with the amount of people who follow them on any given application, social media application there is. And it's like, I don't know if you guys had seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's legitimately scary.
It is 100%.
It's scary. Like,
well,
I do it because I like kind of have to for my job, because more followers equals more, merch sales and downloads, blah, blah, blah. Same with you. But like, and I get the same rants or, like finger point and say, you need to get TikTok. And I just tell them flat out, no, I'm not doing it. Like, it's never come down from someone who like Portnoy or Erica, when in that case I would listen, but
of course.
But I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, I don't need to obsess over something else that just, I mean, and I also do understand the merits, like you were saying. Yeah. But it's just like, we'll make money elsewhere. Like, I don't want it. I don't need it. I'm not going to sit there doing dances and like.
Well, that was my thing. I told the band that if we're going to download it, we're just taking content from other mediums and putting it on there. If I catch any of you motherfuckers dancing on there or doing some weird shit, I was like, you will find another band to work for. Like, you will get the fuck out of here. It's all about authenticity. But like, I'll get to where I am today, like 2.5, 3 weeks in. I understand the merits if you're a musician and why you would do it. I don't think that our audience is necessarily the audience that I'm that's on TikTok. It's more of like, you have to check the box. Like, in music, in the music industry, you always have to have these boxes checked so that it's undeniable when you go to people up the ladder and say, we have this, we've done this. If I went to a record label right now, if that was my goal and said like, hey, we do this, so like, where's your TikTok? I'm like, I don't have one because I don't like it. And they're like, that fucking sucks. You're out. I do understand the merits. And when we talk to Joe P, you'll kind of understand like where he's at in it. But like the one thing that will still always bother me about it is it's just another means to quantify a musician's worth. And we're in a world right now where like you can see streams, you can see, it's not about potential, it's about what you have right now when you're moving up the ladder. And we had a conversation with Christopher Brown where we were talking about that. And we were talking about, everybody can see everything. And like, if you want to get on radio, you got to have this many followers and you got to have these many streams. And it's so much, we're in a world right now in the music industry where it's like, okay, you might be good and your shit might pop later, but right now you don't have like, it could be like you have great streams, but your Instagram followers aren't enough, or you don't have enough Shazams, or you don't have enough TikToks. My one gripe in this whole thing is it's just another way to quantify art, and I'm not a fan of that. And I mean, Al, you hear me rant about this shit all the time. Like, how much shit do I have to go through? Like, how many different mediums do I have to mitigate when we're talking about like, hey, we're going to release this. We have to do this, 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 and this. And you work in this field regardless, like the digital field with Witty Gritty and all that. Like, what's your opinion on social media and art?
That's a good question.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No, I think I agree with what you're saying. Like, quantifying your art sucks, and having to jump through the hoops just to like be deemed successful or deemed valuable like also sucks. And a lot of social media sucks, like a lot of it, no matter what platform you're on. And I think one of the things that I was thinking of when you were just mentioning TikTok is the other thing is that you're doing 60-second sound bites of songs. You're not doing a full song, right? So like these playlists today are songs that are good for the 60 seconds that have been on TikTok. Like if you go to a lot of those curated Spotify playlists, but they're all shit, like all stuff from TikTok. And that's weird to me. I don't know that I am, because like, I don't, there's a lot of better music out there, in my opinion.
Well, that's the thing that bothers me is that people don't see the fact that I worry about art in a certain capacity when it comes down to like, if you're trying to figure out what hits in 60 seconds, it mitigates what you're doing. It devalues what you're doing. And I will say that maybe right now that's where we are. I don't know where we wind up going, but right now it's such an odd place to be in, being in music, and especially in the pandemic, like everybody's gravitating towards what's hot right now and what will make sense right now because everybody's scrounging for such a small amount of shit because there's no shows.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dave Barstool obviously deals in all social media probably more than anybody. Like, you say you do get pressure from your job to have to do this. Like, what to you, like, because I know you like Twitter. Like, what social media makes the most sense to you?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Like, Instagram and Twitter, like, I don't go on Facebook. I have a Facebook still. It's a personal Facebook. Up until recently, I found out that, because I never go on. I go on it maybe once a month. And up until recently, I found out that my phone number was still on there, and I would get calls from fucking stoolies, not nonstop, but they would look up my Facebook, find my phone number, and I'd be like, man, how the fuck are people getting my phone number? I'm
deleting mine right now, yo.
I eventually put two and two, and this was going on for years that I finally realized it. I mean, still to this day, at least in terms of numbers, Facebook drives like a ton of like it drives a ton of traffic to the website. I would say for sales, Twitter is what I use the most.
Yeah.
Because that's where I have the biggest following personally, and then Instagram, I would say is more for promotion.
Right.
Just like not necessarily selling, but promoting any given product, or like I always kind of intertwined Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
So like if I'm selling something on Instagram, like a swipe up or something, then I'll direct it back to my Twitter, where a link will, it'll be or anything. But those are the only two I really use, which is leaving money on the table. But at the same time, like I just like,
what's your soul worth? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
that's what it is.
Questions.
That's what it is. It's like my soul. Like I have to draw a line somewhere because. All right, I download TikTok. In another year, there's going to be some other platform. All right, I got to download that now. Like people are trying to tell me to download Clubhouse right now, which is sort of, I think, like a Zoom.
It's like
But-
With
it's
no
just a
faces.
voice app. Yeah, it's
Like-
basically you're just on a big group phone call, which
Yeah.
look, I'm all for. Like, social media has given artists a certain ability to control their own narrative and control their own interaction with fans,
Mhm.
which is great. But after a certain point, it just gets to me because it's too much direct contact in a way. Like, we've had the conversation about comment sections a lot on this show. And I avoided Twitter I've had it, but like until recently I wasn't really using it that often because it's such a combative, volatile place a lot
It
of
is.
the times.
Yeah.
Instagram has been more of a happy medium for me, and now I'm getting into the TikTok world. And look, this is going to be an ongoing conversation, but I think if everybody listens to the end of this episode, listens to Joe P, who's been very successful on TikTok, talk about his experience, it's enlightening. So to all musicians who are interested in that shit, and we're kind of in a place where I was 3 weeks ago, listen to that and you might change your tune. So that's our TikTok session. That's our introduction. Let's go into on the list, off the list.